Hi there, animal explorers! Welcome back to Daisy's Animal Facts, the show where we dive into crystal clear waters and explore the most gentle giants of our planet. I'm your host, Daisy, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have you join me on another incredible adventure into the animal kingdom. Today's episode is about one of the most peaceful and lovable animals in the ocean. They're enormous, but incredibly gentle. They move like underwater ballerinas, despite weighing as much as a small car. And they're sometimes called sea cows because they spend most of their time peacefully munching on underwater plants. They're so calm and curious that they often swim right up to people just to say hello. Can you guess what they are? That's right, manatees. So put on your snorkel mask, grab your underwater camera, and get ready for an aquatic adventure. We're heading to warm, shallow waters to explore the amazing life of manatees, where every discovery is more wonderful than the last. Let's dive in! Manatees are some of the most amazing marine mammals in the world, and they're absolutely incredible. These gentle giants are completely aquatic, which means they spend their entire lives in the water. Manatees belong to a special group of animals called sirenians, named after the mythical sirens because sailors long ago thought they might be mermaids. These magnificent animals are absolutely huge. An adult manatee can grow up to 13 feet long and weigh between 800 and 1,200 pounds. That's about as heavy as a small car, despite their enormous size. Manatees are incredibly graceful swimmers who move through the water like gentle underwater dancers. What makes manatees extra special is their incredibly peaceful nature. They're herbivores, which means they only eat plants, and they're known for being some of the most docile animals in the ocean. Manatees have never been known to hurt humans and are naturally curious about people who visit their watery homes. Manatees have been around for millions of years, and amazingly, their closest living relatives on land are elephants. Scientists think that millions of years ago, manatees and elephants shared a common ancestor. You can actually see some similarities if you look closely. Both animals have tough, wrinkled skin and are very intelligent. There are 3 different species of manatees in the world: West Indian manatees, which live in Florida and the Caribbean, West African manatees, and Amazonian manatees. Each species has adapted to life in their specific watery homes. Manatees live in warm, shallow waters around the world, but they're very picky about where they call home. These amazing animals are found in coastal areas, rivers, springs, and estuaries where the water stays nice and warm year-round. West Indian manatees, the ones most people know about, live along the coasts of Florida, the Caribbean islands, and parts of Central and South America. During winter months, hundreds of manatees gather in the warm springs of Florida, creating some of the most amazing wildlife viewing opportunities in North America. These incredible animals love areas where fresh water meets salt water, called estuaries. These spots have lots of the seagrass and aquatic plants that manatees love to eat. They also prefer shallow waters, usually less than 20 feet deep, where they can easily surface to breathe and find plenty of food. Manatees are very sensitive to cold water. When water temperatures drop below 68 degrees Fahrenheit, they can get sick or even die from cold stress. That's why they migrate to warm water refuges during cooler months, especially the natural springs in Florida that stay a constant 72 degrees year-round. Unfortunately, manatee habitat is shrinking as humans build marinas, docks, and waterfront developments in areas where manatees once lived peacefully. Boat traffic has also made many waterways dangerous for these slow-moving giants. However, many areas now have special manatee protection zones where boats must go very slowly or stay out completely during certain times of the year when manatees are most vulnerable. Every part of a manatee's body is perfectly designed for a peaceful life gliding through warm waters. They're like nature's ultimate gentle giants. A manatee's tail is completely flat and round, working like a giant paddle to push them through the water. They move their tail up and down, not side to side like fish do. Their front flippers look a bit like hands and are incredibly flexible. Manatees can use them to steer while swimming, hold food while eating, hug other manatees, and even walk along the bottom of shallow water. Manatees have very thick, wrinkled skin that's usually gray or brown. Their skin is so tough that it protects them from sharp plants and rough surfaces, but it's also very sensitive to touch. Manatees have cute, whiskered faces with flexible upper lips that work like fingers. They use these amazing lips to grab plants and guide food into their mouths. Their eyes are quite small compared to their body size, but they can see well enough to navigate and recognize other manatees and humans. You can barely see a manatee's ears because they're just tiny holes on the sides of their head, but their hearing is excellent both underwater and above the surface. Manatees have nostrils on the top of their snout, allowing them to breathe while keeping most of their body underwater. Their nostrils close tightly when they dive. Manatees have huge lungs that help them stay underwater for up to 20 minutes, though they usually surface every 3 to 5 minutes to breathe. Unlike whales and seals, manatees don't have a thick layer of blubber to keep warm, which is why they need to stay in warm water year-round. Manatee bones are very heavy and dense, which helps them stay underwater instead of floating to the surface all the time. Manatees are herbivores, which means they eat only plants. They're like underwater lawn mowers, spending 6 to 8 hours every day peacefully grazing on aquatic vegetation. These gentle giants need to eat a lot of food to fuel their massive bodies. Manatees love to eat seagrass, water hyacinth, water lettuce, turtle grass, manatee grass, algae, and water lilies. Manatees have a very special way of eating. They use their flexible upper lip, called a prehensile lip, like we use our hands. This amazing lip can grab plants, twist them, and guide them into their mouth. It's like having fingers on their face. A full-grown manatee needs to eat between 100 and 150 pounds of plants every day. That's like eating about 600 heads of lettuce. Because plants don't have as much nutrition as meat, manatees have to eat almost constantly when they're awake. Manatees have special teeth that are perfect for grinding tough plants. As their teeth wear down from all that chewing, new teeth grow in from the back to replace them. They can go through thousands of teeth in their lifetime. One of the most amazing things about manatees is that they help keep their underwater environment healthy by eating plants. When they graze on seagrass beds, they actually help the grass grow better, kind of like how mowing your lawn helps it stay healthy. Despite their enormous size, manatees are incredibly graceful swimmers who seem to dance through the water. Their slow, peaceful movements are perfectly suited to their gentle lifestyle. Manatees typically swim at about 3 to 5 miles per hour, which is about as fast as a person walks. They're not built for speed, but for peaceful cruising. When they need to, manatees can swim up to 20 miles per hour for short distances. They can also do complete somersaults, barrel rolls, and other acrobatic moves that seem impossible for such large animals. Manatees can control whether they float or sink by adjusting how much air is in their lungs. When they want to rest on the bottom, they breathe out. When they want to float, they take a big breath. Everything a manatee does is slow and deliberate. They never seem to be in a hurry, which adds to their reputation as the most peaceful animals in the ocean. Manatees surface every few minutes to breathe, and when they do, usually just their nostrils peek above the water. They can hold their breath for up to 20 minutes when resting. Manatees often swim together in small groups, gently bumping into each other and touching with their flippers in what looks like underwater hugs. Manatees are experts at moving through very shallow water. Sometimes in areas where there's barely enough water to cover their backs, some manatees travel hundreds of miles between their summer and winter homes. following warm water currents and familiar routes. Manatees have gentle, peaceful social lives that reflect their calm nature. While they're not as social as dolphins, they do form meaningful relationships and show caring behavior toward each other. Manatees don't mate for life, but they do form temporary bonds during mating season. Female manatees, called calves, typically have one baby every 2 to 5 years after a pregnancy that lasts about 13 months. During mating season, groups of male manatees will follow a female around for days or even weeks. These groups are called mating herds, and the males compete gently for the female's attention. After mating, male manatees don't help raise the babies. Female manatees are single mothers who do all the work of caring for their calves. Baby manatees are usually born underwater and can swim immediately. The mother helps guide her newborn to the surface for its first breath of air. Mother and baby manatees form incredibly strong bonds. The calf stays close to its mother for 1 to 2 years, learning everything it needs to know about being a manatee. When manatees meet each other, they often touch noses, rub bodies, or gently bump into each other. These interactions seem to be their way of saying hello and showing affection. Manatees often rest together in groups, especially in warm springs during winter. They'll lie on the bottom or float peacefully near each other. Young manatees are playful and curious, often investigating new objects or practicing swimming moves by doing flips and rolls. Baby manatees, called calves, are absolutely adorable and start life as perfect miniature versions of their mothers. Their journey from birth to independence is full of learning and growing. Manatee calves are born weighing about 60 to 70 pounds and measuring around 4 feet long. That's already bigger than most adult dogs. Baby manatees can swim immediately after being born and instinctively know to surface for air. Their mothers often guide them during their first breaths. Calves drink their mother's rich milk for the first few months of life. Mother manatees have mammary glands located near their flippers, and babies can nurse underwater. Around 3 to 4 months old, calves start nibbling on plants while still drinking their mother's milk. They learn what to eat by copying their mother's choices. Baby manatees rarely leave their mother's side during their first year. They swim right next to her or sometimes even ride on her back. Manatee calves grow quickly on their mother's nutritious milk and can double their birth weight in their first year. Mothers teach their babies important life skills like where to find the best food, how to avoid dangers, and where to find warm water during cold weather. Calves slowly become more independent, but usually stay with their mothers until they're 1 to 2 years old. Young manatees become fully mature and ready to have babies of their own when they're about 5 years old. Manatees can live 50 to 60 years in the wild, so they have plenty of time to raise many babies during their lives. Manatees are much more communicative than many people realize. These gentle giants use various sounds, touches, and behaviors to interact with each other and express their needs. Manatees make several different sounds, including chirps and squeaks when greeting each other, squeals when they're excited or playing, grunts when they're content or feeding, and whistles that mother and baby use to stay in contact. Manatees are very touchy-feely animals who communicate a lot through physical contact, such as gentle bumping as a form of greeting, nuzzling to show affection, flipper-to-flipper contact during social interactions. And mothers frequently touch their calves for comfort and guidance. Manatees are naturally curious and often investigate new objects, people, or changes in their environment. They'll gently examine things with their sensitive lips and flippers. Manatees rest by either floating at the surface or lying on the bottom of shallow water. They often rest in groups, creating peaceful gatherings. Especially young manatees love to play, doing barrel rolls, somersaults, and following each other in gentle games of tag. Manatees can recognize other individual manatees and often greet familiar animals differently than strangers. During winter months when they gather in warm springs, Manatees become more social and interact more frequently with each other. While manatees don't have many natural predators as adults, they face serious challenges in the modern world, mostly caused by human activities. Boat strikes. The biggest threat to manatees is being hit by boats and their propellers. Manatees are slow-moving and often rest near the surface, making them vulnerable to fast-moving boats. Habitat loss. Development along coastlines destroys the seagrass beds and warm water areas that manatees need to survive. Cold stress. Unusual cold snaps can be deadly for manatees. When water temperatures drop suddenly, they can become sick or die if they can't find warm water refuges. Fishing gear entanglement. Manatees sometimes get tangled in fishing lines, nets, or crab traps, which can injure them or prevent them from surfacing to breathe. Water pollution. Polluted water can make manatees sick and destroy the aquatic plants they depend on for food. Natural predators. Baby manatees can sometimes fall victim to alligators, sharks, or crocodiles, but adult manatees are generally too large for most predators. Red tide. Toxic algae blooms called red tides can poison manatees when they eat contaminated plants or breathe the toxic air near the surface. Human disturbance. When people swim with or touch manatees, it can stress the animals and disrupt their natural behaviors like feeding and resting. Canal locks and floodgates. Manatees sometimes get trapped or injured in water control structures as they move between different water bodies. The story of manatee conservation is actually one of the great success stories in wildlife protection, thanks to dedicated efforts by scientists, government agencies, and caring people. Manatee populations have grown significantly in recent decades. Manatees are protected by several laws, including the Marine Mammal Protection Act and the Endangered Species Act, which make it illegal to harm, harass, or kill them. Many areas now have special speed zones where boats must go very slowly to protect manatees. Some areas are completely off-limits to boats during times when manatees are most vulnerable. There are special facilities that rescue injured manatees, nurse them back to health, and release them back into the wild. Hundreds of manatees have been saved through these programs. Scientists track individual manatees and study their behavior, movements, and population numbers to better understand how to protect them. Programs that teach people about manatees and how to share waterways safely have greatly reduced the number of boat-related injuries. Seagrass beds and warm water refuges are now protected to ensure manatees have the food and shelter they need. Thanks to these efforts, manatee populations in Florida have grown from fewer than 1,000 animals in the 1970s to over 6,000 today. While the success has been remarkable, manatees still need our protection, especially as more people move to coastal areas and boat traffic increases. And that's our incredible aquatic adventure, exploring the world of manatees. From their gentle nature to their amazing swimming abilities, and their remarkable recovery from near extinction, manatees show us how peaceful coexistence is possible in our shared world. These magnificent animals remind us that not all giants need to be fierce. Manatees prove that gentleness, curiosity, and peaceful living can be just as successful as any other survival strategy. They're living examples of how we can share our planet with respect and care. Every manatee is important because they help maintain the health of marine ecosystems by grazing on seagrass and keeping underwater gardens healthy. They're also symbols of successful conservation, showing us that when people work together, we can bring species back from the brink of extinction. Thanks for diving into the gentle world of manatees with us today on Daisy's Animal Facts. If you enjoyed learning about these incredible gentle giants, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us again for our next adventure into the animal kingdom. And remember, the more we learn about animals like manatees, the better we can protect them and the beautiful waters they call home. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep exploring, and stay gentle, friends! The warm waters are calling, and there are so many more amazing aquatic animals waiting to be discovered.